Hey folks, welcome to today's quick lick number 48. Let's get started. This quick lick number 48 is pretty much the sweep picking lick that Django really made famous, that pretty much every gypsy jazz player uses in their vocabulary of licks and tricks. So I'm going to break this down for you in this bonus lesson for all tiers on Patreon. Okay, so before we actually break down the theory of it, let's just learn the lick itself. It's based off this diminished triad shape. So that's what it looks like when you have the open string, but really most of us know it as a D7 chord, or just a partial version of a D7 chord. This will tie into the theory of it, as I will go ahead and explain that as well after I show you the lick. Here's D7. Okay, so but that's the shape, and I just want you to know that there's actually a diminished triad in every dominant seventh chord. So a D7, for example, is D, F sharp, A, C. Well, the F sharp, A, C is a diminished triad. So just remember, every dominant chord contains a diminished triad. So in this example here, I'm actually starting on the first fret here on the first string, the F. We're just going to call this one F diminished 7, which is actually what it is. And so I'm using these two fingers here. I'm not using my first finger. You'll see why in a second. And then my picking hand, if you want to observe this, I'm starting with an upstroke and then 3 consecutive downstrokes in the sweeping fashion. Down, down, down. And pick, rake the strings. Meaning I'm not plucking each string individually like this. I'm just letting the momentum of the pick drag across the strings, sweeping it. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Here we've got the picking pattern down, and now we just want to make sure we hold this shape. Okay, I got the first one. Get this first finger down when you slide. Okay, same picking pattern. Just let the weight of the pick fall and slide. And I ended it there on the 19th fret. I'm thinking of it as 16th notes. At a fast tempo, it might just be 8th notes. So, be flexible with that. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. And again, that's the lick. Be able to do this and start anywhere. Again, there's only 3 possible ones. Check out the other video that I just made talking about the theory of it all. Okay, the 3 possibles, diminished shapes that are being used over 4 dominant chords. It's a very important concept. Okay, those are your different ones. That's all of them. You have this one. You can start here. You can start here. And then it starts all over. Isn't that great? So again, if you said A7, D7, E7, you just want to know which one of those 3 does it start on. Then you're set. C7, F7, E flat 7, A flat 7. So you get the idea there. You just want to be able to just know which dominant chord and quiz yourself, G7, C7. Hey, thanks for watching today's quick lick. We'll see you all next time. Okay, so that's the picking technique. And again, notice this shape here. Well, now we want to slide it every 3 frets. And when we do that, because of the nature of the diminished 7th chord, it just inverts itself. A diminished 7th chord is technically 4 notes. This lick is just a diminished triad sliding every 3 frets, which after going through 2 or in repeating it, 2 of the shapes, you collectively create a diminished 7th chord, a 4-note chord, okay? So G sharp, B, F. I'm just going to demonstrate this for you. And then if we slid it 3 frets, we now have B, D, and then G sharp. So there we introduced a D note. And then now if we slide it 3 frets higher, D, F, B. We don't have that G sharp. 3 frets higher, F, G sharp, and D. 3 frets higher. You get the idea, right? It's the same 4 notes collectively, but because it's a 3-note chord pattern, it just kind of inverts itself ultimately. I know it's a little confusing. If we did 4-note shapes, then it truly is an inversion each time. So, but this is so common just to take this 3-note shape. And I went up there to the 19th fret there. So again, basically turns out to be collectively a diminished 7th chord, even though the lick is just a triad shape. I hope that doesn't confuse you. So let's talk about the trick. I'm gonna demonstrate by starting on a D7. So the trick is this: basically on a D7, on any dominant chord, you extend it to a flat 9, and then you eliminate the root. So it's a rootless chord. I mean, you can assume the bass is playing the root, or the rhythm guitar has the root in there, but we will eliminate the root, omit it. I'll spell it out for you. On a D chord, it's D, F sharp, A, C, and then the flat 9 is E flat. If we get rid of the D, we're left with F sharp, A, C, E flat. Well, each one of those notes, and then if you repeated it back to F sharp, each one of those notes, the distance is a minor third. That's what a diminished 7th chord is. It's just a minor third, minor third, minor third. Here's a D7 chord just to show you. The idea is all you have to do is take the root and go up a half step. And then now we omit the root, and now we have a diminished 7th chord. And it just inverts itself. I mean, we can go ahead and say all the notes. I'll say it quickly if you don't believe me, just in case. E flat, A, C, F sharp. Slide it 3 frets. F sharp, C, E flat, and A. See what I mean? Slide it the same shape, 3 frets. A, E flat, F sharp, and C. 3 more frets, C, F sharp, A, and E flat. And then 3 more frets, back to where we began, E flat, A, C, and F sharp. Same 4 notes over and over. So beautiful, just this one shape. That's the only 7th chord that you can do that. You could just slide the same shape and it just inverts itself every minor third, okay? Now, again, as a triad, any diminished triad, there's actually 3 diminished triad shapes on the first string, but this is by far the most commonly used shape. So again, we can slide that every 3 frets, and it follows that same rule. So now back to the lick. The really beautiful thing about this now, there are only 3 possibilities of getting the right diminished chord. So there's each diminished 7 chord arpeggio, you could say, or substitution, can fit over 4 different dominant chords. 4 different dominant chords. So I often have students asking me, how do you practice this? How do you know which dominant chord is which? And I usually say, well, there's 3 possible. So, you know, just try one. You have a 33% chance of getting the right one. Of course, I'm joking. You really want to apply it. I always say go to Sweet Georgia Brown, go to Minor Swing, go to Dark Eyes. But Sweet Georgia Brown is actually a beautiful example. You have an E7 chord. You start right on G sharp. And then I just go every 3 frets. Again, you know, I know that G sharp, this one is my go-to shape. Then you have an A7. Then you go down a half step. And you're gonna learn that it's a chromatic pattern. For E7, you have this G sharp. And it's the same, as I said, every 3 frets. Okay? And then for A, down a half step. And then D7, down a half step again. Those are your 3 different ones right there. If you went down one more, it would be equivalent to the first one. So that would work for E7. And then from there, you know, just have a piece of paper so that you can see that E7, if you went 3 frets higher or a minor third, would be G, B flat, and C sharp. Those are the ones that it would work over. You might call it D flat 7. But this, that one can be played over E7 It could be G7. It could be B flat 7. It could be C sharp 7. Isn't that great? 4 dominant chords, that same lick. And that's what I'm saying. It just requires that you map it out. Maybe on a piece of paper, have a master chart. Check it out on Patreon. I will post it for you so that you can print it out. It'll just have the 4 different dominant chords per diminished. So there's only 3 different possible diminished substitutions. I hope that makes sense. But definitely apply it to Sweet Georgia Brown. Do that diminished, and then of course do the arpeggio thing as well. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson today. I hope it sheds some light and demystifies that diminished substitution concept. We'll see you all next time.